we're going to use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem, and we're going to use the side lengths to classify the triangles. So now you're going to be given the three numbers. You're not going to be finding a number. You're going to be given all three numbers, and you are going to decide, is it a right triangle? If the two sides equal, it's a right triangle. If they don't equal, then we're going to classify what kind of triangle it is. So you have this on that note sheet. So look at the little note sheet that I gave you. A right triangle is 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is more than 90 degrees. And an acute triangle is less than 90 degrees. So all of this information, again, is on the little note sheet that I gave you, so you don't have to write it down. Just remember, 90 degrees, that's a right angle. So when we're looking at our Pythagorean theorem, the two sides would be equal. That's a right triangle. So on the back side of the note sheet, we have this. And what this states is if c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, then your triangle is an acute triangle. Again, if c squared equals a squared plus b squared, your triangle is a right triangle. And if c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, your triangle is obtuse. That means that it's not a right triangle. That angle right there is greater than 90 degrees. And over here, this angle is less than 90 degrees. Okay, so let's see what this all looks like. Draw this. Write this down. All right, so if you remember A, B, and C, which one out of A, B, and C is the longest side?
Oh, C.
C. So C will always be your largest number. So which one side C? 20. Don't go by the picture. Okay, and sometimes you're not given a picture. So you're just given numbers. And then the other ones are just A and B. So again, you're going to write the formula. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And this today is why we wrote it this way all week, because of this lesson. So 20 squared equals 12 squared plus 16 squared. So 20 squared is 400 equals 144 plus 256. And so 400, does 400 equal, and then if we add this up, does 400 equal 400?
Yes.
So when they equal, then this is a right triangle. So you would say a right triangle.
I like this lesson about. No, me too.
Okay? So if they equal, you can say it's a right triangle. All right, so write this. What happens when you square a square root?
Get another.
Down. So when we square a square root, what happens is you have this. Square root of 40 times square root of 40. And like we learned yesterday, the property of square roots, we can put them under the same. And so how do I take the square root? It's one of two equal factors. So I can take this put it outside, get rid of that one. So, when you square a square root, the square root of 40 squared is just 40. So let's look at that with a different number. The square root of 6 squared. So what does that mean? The square root of 6 times the square root of 6. And using the product property of square roots, I can put them under the same thing. So what's 6 times 6? 36. So what's square root of 36? So when you square a square root, what happens? It just brings the number out. Okay, so now let's put this into place. So write this down. Write this down. So there's two ways to decide which one is A, B, and C, and don't always go by the picture. So the first way is you can take 35. Remember our point something lesson? You can figure out what it comes in between. It comes in between 25 and 36. So this is going to be 5 point something. So if this is 5 point something, which one's bigger? 35 squared, because this is only 5, and this is 5 point something. It's almost 6, because it's real close to the square root of 36. You can do it that way, or you can look at them, because maybe this is a big number. You can look at all the numbers under the radical. So how do I put 5 under the radical? I just square it. 5 squared is 25. So the square root of 25 is 5, right? What's 4 squared? 16. So now I can look at 25, 35, 16. Which one's bigger? 35. So write our formula. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So C squared is the square root of 35 squared. A, so these other two are just A and B. We have 5 squared plus 4 squared. So when I square a square root, it just brings that number out. Now 5 squared is 25, and 4 squared is 16. So does 35 equal 41? No, so you put that, and 35 is what? It's less than 41. So when it's less than, what kind of triangle? Acute. So you would say this is an acute triangle. Question? Write this down. Which one is C? That's the one you want to identify first. Which one's C? 8. Because it's the largest number. So call the other ones A and B. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So then just fill it in. 8 squared equals 6 squared plus 5 squared. 64 equals 36 plus 25. So what's 36 plus 25? 61. So it doesn't equal. So 64 is what? Greater than. So when C squared is greater, obtuse triangle. Obtuse triangle. So that means that this angle right here would be bigger than 90 degrees. So write this down. So when you don't know what these would come in between, they're obviously pretty big numbers, square root of 170 and square root of 314. You can just put this one under the radical. So square it would be, the square root of 144 is 12. So now you would compare the numbers under the radical. Which one's the biggest one? 314, so that is C. The other two, A and B. Does it matter if this one's A or B? No. So now, C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So I have the square root of 314 squared equals the square root of 170 squared plus 12 squared. So when you square root, it just comes out. So 314 equals 170 plus 144. So what's 170 plus 144? 314. So when they equal, it is what kind of triangle? Right triangle.
For B squared, what if you were to put the square root of 144 squared?
You want to keep the original number that they give you.
Okay.
Okay? I know they're equivalent, but you want to put the original number.
Okay.
All right, your turn. Which one would be side C? 6, 5, or square root of 41? And the way you can tell is two ways. You can say square root of 41 comes in between square root of 36 and square root of 49, so it's going to be 6 point something. So 6 point something is going to be larger, or you can square 36, or square 6 to get the square root of 36 is 6. Square 5, square root of 25 is 5, and compare 25, 36, and 41. 41 is the greatest number. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Square root of 41 squared equals 6 squared, so these other sides are A and B. Remember to use the original numbers that they give you. So 41 equals 36 plus 25. Does 41 equal, what is that, 61? No. So 41 is what? Less than 61. So what kind of triangle? Acute triangle. All right, here's yours. So you're saying this is the largest? So if I compare them, this would be 225, and this would be square root of 16. So side C, A, and B. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Do you have to write the formula every time? Yes, you do. So 15 squared equals square root of 209 squared plus 4 squared. 225 equals 209 plus 16. So what's 209 plus 16? So this is So this is a right triangle. Write these down. So now we don't have a shape. We just have three numbers. So just write the three numbers down. And we're going to figure out, we're going to figure out, so we're going to compare. Again, you can figure out which one this comes in between, or you can say this is square root of 25 and this is square root of 81. Which one's the largest? So this is C. The other two we can call A and B. So when you're given three numbers, just figure out which one's the largest. That one's C. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Square root of 103 squared equals 5 squared plus 9 squared. So 103 equals 25 plus 81. Does 103 equal 106? No, so 103 is less than 106. So it is acute triangle. Hey, your turn. Which one is the largest number? 8. And so you can think of this as square root of 16, square root of 64, and square root of 33. Square root of 64 would be big, the biggest number. So that's C. The other two you just call A and B in either order. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So 8 squared equals 4 squared plus square root of 33 squared. So 64 equals 16 plus 33. Does 64 equal 49? No. 64 is greater than 49, so it is. It's an obtuse triangle. Yes, question.
In this case, how